Good evening to you all. My name is Jamie Morris, or ILT Indigo. Welcome back to Cone Racing League. This is round 5 for the Chinese Grand Prix, and today, join with me as always is the one and only Kalen, or formerly known as KXI, former Tier 3 racer here.
Thanks, Jamie. Yeah, pleasure to be here, and yeah, looking forward to another exciting race here in CRL. Is this round 5 now?
Yes, it is as well. And last season, I think it was the first race of the season in all tiers, obviously, because we have the same calendar. So it was the first race of the season. And the man I'm on board with now, Craigo, actually won that race as well, which is Tier 3 and now is known as Tier 4. So you can see Craigo already power sliding coming out of turn number 3 there. But how do you find this track? Did you race here last season in Tier 3, Caden, at this track?
I'm not sure if I did. If I did, I can't remember the result. But yeah, I've got some practice in already for Thursday, and yeah, it's a tricky circuit. Traction zones in the high log speed corners, turn 1, and then of course going onto the banking down the back straight. So it's a fun track. It's a tricky track though.
Yeah, it's very easy to make mistakes around with the validations or curb catching you out, or traction itself indeed. So that'll be the one to keep an eye out as well, especially through here as well. This long right hander coming out of turn 12 into 13. It's very easy, especially in the race, to light up the rear tyres. So drivers have got to have their wits about them at all times then, to make sure they don't make these mistakes which can punish you in the long term then. So hopefully these drivers will manage to there's only got 17 drivers, 3 are not here, so very surprising indeed. Well, not actually surprising, because I know a lot of drivers don't like this circuit. 16 turns is quite difficult to negotiate around here. So here it is then, turn 16. We've seen plenty of crashes through here. Antonio Giovinazzi back in 2017, Alex Albon back in 2019 at the Toro Rosso. But here we go then, into turn number 1, this right-hander, where Danny Fiat got his nickname, the Torpedo, by Sebastian Vettel in 2016, as that's the race that had loads of overtakes at 2016 Grand Prix. Most overtakes around it, I think. Coming out of turn number 3 there, you can see he's struggling just a bit on traction, and now we're making our way into turn 5, eats his corner, of course, flat out, heavy braking zone into turn number 6, scrub off all the speed, hit the apex on the entry then, regaining and building up traction then as we head into these high speed corners that it should be ideally flat out, which it is there for Craigo. Now coming into this right hander, which is not flat out, a slight dab on the brake there, carrying the minimum speed though into this double left hander, which can catch quite a few people out. You can see that Craigo just fighting the car a bit on the exit of turn number 10 that was, as we head into turn number 11. Could be a little bit of a difficult corner as well. It's so easy to outbrake yourself through there, which is very important because you need to set yourself up on the straight as we head into this long right hander. We go then as we head onto this main straight, the long DRS zone straight. This is the straight we'll see the most overtaken, of course, DRS enabled then, as we should reach speeds about 330 kilometers an hour, about 207 miles an hour, braking at the 100-meter board then, heaviest braking zone of course, so very easy to lock up in there or go a bit deep as you're carrying a lot of speed on the straight. As now we're heading towards turn number 16 then, a difficult corner to get right, especially on the exit as well, as you can see there Craigo almost getting sent off the track with a 32.9 and on the board for Craigo. Behind him is a Red Bull who's crossed the line to probably start his flying lap then, so that was Jay Hart who crossed the line. We've got one of the Haas's, and that's Verona Flash in the Haas with a 32.3 then, and he was right behind the Red Bull too when he did that. However, his teammate King Panda has just gotten into P1 there with a 32.2 over a tenth, so both Haas's there showing initial pace ahead of the rest, with only 3 drivers set to the lap time, Kalen, because I presume a lot of people are struggling out there.
Yeah, really good there for both the Haas drivers. They obviously reclaimed their spot in P1 in the Constructors' Championship, so they're both going to be looking for a good result, especially with King Panda. He's going to be wanting to chase that second win of the season.
Yes, he is, as he actually goes quickest with a 31.7 then, so that's already into the 31s, 5 tenths clear of the rest of them then. So can anybody match that, as Warrior Huntsman has put his Williams into P5 with the Mercedes next across the line. That was Leon there in the Mercedes then, going for a lap time, with both Red Bulls still out there on their flying laps. Jay Hartnell and Chunders then. Jay Hartnell's on the straight with the DRS enabled then, as he gets a good tow from the McLaren. Is that McLaren Craigo? I'm not quite sure. I think it is Craigo because we've just seen him do a lap time. You can see him flashing on the straight, indicated he's not going for another lap time. Jay Hart now gets a really poor exit coming out of that corner, just get on the throttle as he would have wanted. Head into the final corner, he goes in 5th gear, and he will set a 32.3 and puts that Red Bull into P5. About under 200 slower than Verona Flash in P4, as both Hassers there go past, and into the pit lane they go then. So Verona Flash waiting for quite a while there has allowed his teammate to go first in the box, as he was one of the first drivers across the line first, but King Panda's actually caught up to him in his out lap. Not wasting around is King Panda, getting in and out, and King Panda there, I think, in the championship, he's a few points away from Harry Palmer. It's actually Basil Fox, sorry. So Basil Fox is 3 points away from Harry Palmer. King Panda, after a difficult race back in Qatar, he's currently in P2 behind Basil then, so he'll be looking to make amends after a difficult race in Qatar, whereas Basil had a great race. I think he finished in P2 as Dat Roland has joined them, making up 18 in their session. Palmer has the championship lead so far, 3 points ahead of Baza and 80 points ahead of King Panda.
Yeah, so there's also play for here in Tier 4 CRL, as Palmer takes the top spot in the championship from his very commanding P1 victory in Qatar last week. But yeah, something to mention here, Jamie, the curbs are some of the dangers that I've seen on the calendar this season. I think I noticed Craigo grinding across the curbs coming out of the final corner, so that's something that you want to be careful of around here.
Yeah, I saw that too, mate. I couldn't find the words for it, but you summed it up perfectly there. Thank you for that. Sophia,
no problem.
Sophia goes into P2 there, a great lap time for the Frenchman in the Aston Martin with a 32.0, so he'll be happy with that lap time. But all eyes on Palmer as he makes his way out of turn number 14 there. Not the exit, well, not the entry he'd have wanted, because he compromised on the exit as he went deep in the braking zone. Into the final corner he goes. What lap time is this from Harry Palmer? It's going to be a 32.8, so we're not used to this from Palmer, as he's a 10th away, so he's taken a few poles this season, has Harry Palmer, been up there in the front row as well, but in China doesn't look to be, as it's a 32.8, a 10th behind his teammate Warrior Husband then, so be searching for time out there whether he lost it or not. I know he lost a bit in the heavy braking zone at turn 14. I didn't see all the lap, I only saw the last sector or middle sector of it, but anyways, he's got a lot of work in his hands, has Harry Palmer then, to make up all that time. He's going to make up 1.1 seconds then, which is not easy to do around this track unless he made a huge mistake of course, and can recover from that very quickly. Polish man in the Aston Martin, we did see him pick up a podium in Qatar, but I do remember him getting caught up in some incidents as he took out somebody at turn number 6, I believe, so that's probably the reason why he fell down the order, because I remember saying at Qatar, do not pick up penalties, you could find yourself up there, as the Alfa Romeo does not get out of the way for the Polishman as he actually slides quite out of turn 14 then. So the Polishman would not be happy with this, with the Alfa Romeo, and they both may be on a lap time together. None of them are going to be backing out, and this is going to be a drag race all the way down to the line. P11 for Polishman, and who was the Alfa Romeo? Was that Mighty Atom in P13?
That's Mighty Atom, yeah. So yeah, definitely a bit of impeding going on there. The Polish man's not going to be too happy with that, but yeah, not sure exactly what's going on there. Maybe the Mighty Atom didn't see him, but yeah, still plenty of time in the session for both drivers to get times on the board, so not the end of the world at this moment in time, but yeah, not the best.
In fact, as King Panda hasn't finished on the podium since the first race of the season, so I wasn't quite aware of his situation this season. I thought he would be having more podiums than that, but must have sustained some bad luck somewhere this season. I can't obviously remember every single race. Well, I've only had 4 races this season, but my memory is not really that great. I need to go watch it back because I'm doing a lot of leagues. I commentate, especially CRL Tier 1 and other leagues as well, which I do. So yeah, my memory is not great, so apologies about that one. But anyways, back to the action. Eisen there in P4 with a 32.4. I do definitely remember both Ferraris fighting at the Austrian Grand Prix for a podium. There was a fighting for Sofia and for P3, but they both tripped over themselves, I dare say, and that's why one of them didn't get a podium, and Sofian took the podium instead in P3 there with a great race from the Aston Martin. Currently in P2 so far in China, as we've got 8 minutes left to go on the clock then. So yeah, I think we've still got a few drivers not set a lap time. We've been spun, by the way. Where's that? Turn 12, 13? I think it is. Yes, it is there. So we've been spun out there, and unfortunately his lap time is ruined there. What about Chugs at the AlphaTauri? He's coming through turn number 2 now, heading into turn number 3. What's your opinions on this track, Kayla? Do you like it? Do you struggle a bit?
I like this track in terms of how it flows. I find it very demanding for the driver, especially somebody on wheel using a high force feedback setting. But yeah, I like this track. It's very tough on tires, traction. They use the higher compounds, the harder compounded tires around here naturally. But yeah, I like this track. It's a track that I've always performed relatively good at. But it's important. Another track where you just got to keep it clean, keep it off the curbs, keep it within the track limits, and you're going to find yourself near the top of the field.
Summed up perfectly. It's easier said than done for most people, including me. It's quite hard to not make mistakes around here. Every single lap you're going to be very consistent, not to pick up a penalty or lose the car. Full concentration. The only time you can rest is on this straight. Makoni, hello in the chat. Welcome everybody. And I can see a few people already starting to complain at other people for incidents, such as Verona Flash has been in an incident so far. Finished your hot lap as I'm starting mine, you're racing me down the pit straight and turn 1, and turn 2 totally pushed me off, costing me time with a set of tyres. Unreal behaviour. So Verona Flash out there has been caught up in some incidents. As Chuck's coming around the final corner now with a 33.1 P12 unfortunately, so hopefully he can find a lot of time. But yeah, both Hasses there getting caught up, or one of the Hasses getting caught up in some melee. King Panda and P3 ahead of Verona Flash. I think they both just completed their lap because they're quite low on ERS at this stage, so I'm not quite sure if they improved or not, but however they stay as P3 as P4. So anybody out there on a lap, we've got Craigo, and he's coming through the double left-hander, but he doesn't look to be on a lap time judging by the ERS flashing. Fandango has taken a few poles now and then this season. Here he is then with both Alpines, haven't set a lap time just yet then. So here he is, into turn number 6 we go, another heavy braking zone, and didn't really hook up the final, well, didn't really hook up the exit. You can see there a bit of hesitation of the exit going into this flat out left hander. It should be very nice through there, downshifting into 5th gear we go. Some people take it through 4th, but oh, we can see the back end of the car just stepping out, compromised him into this double left hander, and he's lost his rhythm now for sure. Fandango unfortunately suffering through the mid speed corners there and compromised his entry to the next corner, so that's his lap time done and dusted then.
Yeah, so a lot of drivers coming into the pits now. The grid seems to be a little bit separated today. We're used to seeing a little bit more of a closer field for qualifying, but of course all these drivers still got at least one more lap to complete. So yeah, couldn't tell you who could be on pole at this moment in time.
Yeah, well, Bazza, the only man in the 31s then, so he's got a good margin between himself and P2. Evening George, hopefully you're doing alright, as he's come to the chat. Former tier 3 racer of course, now moved up into tier 2, so hopefully we can watch his progress as he's picked up a win I think, and a few podiums in tier 3, so he's on great form so far, and hopefully he could continue that because his pace has been improving race by race as well. 2/10 up is Polish man in the first sector as well, so that's good. Good sign from him. He joined back after having a bit of a sabbatical, and he came back to Qatar. Had a great race, but got caught up in some incidents. He finished in P3 initially, but post-race penalty came, and he finished down in P8 then, so he didn't actually score his first podium of the season then, unfortunately for him. So hopefully he can do it with 5/10 up. Improvement for Polish man then, as he makes his way now as this long right-hander we go, and getting on the straight there with no problems whatsoever, fully to the floor, all the way down into the heavy braking zone at turn number 14 then. So DRS enabled for the Aston Martin driver, reaches speeds about, that's really interesting, because I saw Craigo do about 329, whereas Polish man did 321 in kilometers an hour there. So you can see the difference in setup between some drivers there as he makes his way now towards the final corner we go. It looks to be decent for Polish man as he crossed the line now, a 31.8 then, so he goes up into P2 ahead of his teammate, and Polish man then has joined the 31 club as Baz is going for his second attempt, a few hundreds up in that first sector, Kalen.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a great lap there from Polish man, and yeah, not sure if he's got any time left to get back round, box, fresh set, and then go back out. I think that's probably his qualifying done, but yeah, Palmer now is in P10. He's just come out of the pits on his out lap, so I'm expecting him to put in a fairly decent lap towards the end of this session and get himself further up the grid.
Yeah, Bazza in the middle sector, 1/10 up. Yeah, Palmer on the fringes. Oh, Bazza has made a huge mistake there. Probably got the throttle way too early. The tyres working at their best as well, with the tyres heated up there, probably overheating as well as he got the throttle a bit too early, and unfortunately suffered massive wheel spin, and he lost a lot of time, I dare say, in that on that lap. I think Woodman has just put his Ferrari up into P11 with a 32.9. So both Aston Martins, they're P2 and P3, both Hasses are P5 and P6. What will Bazza do? Will he go in the pit lane? No, he continues out there. So if he wants to, in fact, he might improve, you know. Yes, he does! A 31.5. So despite that mistake, he still managed to find time. So, imagine the distance he could put himself. Oh, for a flash, for some reason, is playing games again with a Red Bull. No, I think, I don't know what the situation was. King Panda has ruined his lap time. I think he got distracted by 2 cars before the first corner, and I dare say that's his qualifying done, I think. There's his teammate right behind as well.
So what's happened there is it appears that Verona Flash is peeled to the inside to let Polishman or Bazza finish their laps, and what he's doing is blocking the pit exit. It's possible that he stopped or was going too slowly through there, and then the disqualified car is then blocked King Panda, his teammate. So that's a really unfortunate situation for Verona Flash and the Haas team.
Verona Flash in a great position up there in the top 5, unfortunately. But I did see I did see 2 cars on the exit of the pit lane, and the game obviously classifies it as blocking when in real life they're just trying to get out of the way to make sure they don't block anybody. So that's really unfortunate for Verona Flash. I dare say the Red Bull of Jay Hartnell should have backed off a little bit because he was quite close to the back of the Haas. But here comes his Chunders then, as he puts himself into P10 ahead of Woburn in P11 there. But we're coming to the closing stages of qualifying then, and we'll see who's on their final flying laps to try and take away Baz's pole position. King Panda is rounding up, starting up again, just trying to save EOS. And Leon there in the middle sector, a few hundreds up as he makes his way now towards the end of that middle sector. 1/10 up is the Mercedes driver. So King Panda there on another cooldown lap after trying to go for it, but unfortunately in the first 2 corners just went off the track completely after probably getting distracted by the 2 cars off the track. But he's got one more lap. Fandango finally puts a lap time on the board, and it's P4 because Palmer, in fact Baz has joined back, I didn't even know he left the session. Palmer has finally found a lap time, a 31.7 then, so he catapults up the order. Into P2 he goes then. So qualifying will be coming to a close shortly. Bazza is in the pit lane, it says, so he won't be going out there to complete. I don't think he had enough time anyway. We did see him earlier on. Here comes Leon then, cross the line, a 32.1 for him. And what about King Panda in P4? What can he do? As my timing boards now have glitched, as King Panda is a few hundreds down in that first sector. So can he make up the lost time in the middle sector? We've still got cars there coming towards turn 14, such as the Ferrari, the Red Bull of Jay Hartnell, who's done 4 laps. Oh, Panda has gone out wide at the exit of turn number 10, I believe. He was 2/10 down anyway, but unfortunately has ruined that lap time. So that's qualifying done and dusted for him. Chunder's crossed the line now, stays in P12 for him. The AlphaTauri is coming towards the line. Let's see what lap time he does. Goes up into P7 is Chugs. Chugs, by the way, had a podium in Qatar. He took it away from Polishman, who picked up those penalties after the race. Warrior Hudspeth crossed the line now, stays in P12. Jay Hartnell, 3/10 up in that middle sector there, so good improvement for him. Can he get himself inside the top 10? He's got a few cars to dispatch. 1 Ferrari's all out of the way. We've got, I think, an Alpine ahead of us. Might give him a distant tow, so might benefit him down his straight then. So I think Palmer has completed his lap time. A good lap. Let's keep an eye on him then. Where is he? In P5. I think he's coming towards the final corner then. So let's see what Sofian does as he crosses the line right now. What's it going to be? It's P2 with a 31.6. Very close there indeed, as you could hear from KSI's reaction. But here comes Jay Hartnell coming towards the final corner then. That Alpine must be a distraction for him. He crossed the line now, a 31.8, and puts his car into P4 then. So finally a good lap time there from Jay Hartnell, Kalen.
Yeah, some of these boys are tripping over each other towards the end of the session. But yeah, Sofian, I noticed he went purple in the middle sector, and yeah, of course then it's not a lot of corners. Only got one big braking zone then towards the end of the lap at the hairpin, and then one more final corner. So yeah, great lap from Sofian. He's really gained all the time in the first and middle sector.
and puts the Aston Martin into P2 then. So it's been there and thereabouts, has Sofian this season, mixture of results, and got his best result at the Austrian Grand Prix, the first round of the season. He finished in P3 ahead of both Ferraris then. So can he keep up this great form so far? I know, I do recall him having a few incidents, maybe by himself spinning, and I want to check his results because I know he's been there and thereabouts. Apparently Palmer says, is there rain? So he hasn't really checked the weather radar so far. Sofian hasn't finished inside the top 10 in the second round of the season, which was Suzuka, Japan. I don't know what happened to him in Japan. Maybe he wasn't there because I can't see his results whatsoever. Yeah, he finished in P15 then, so he scored no points. So a difficult race there for him. Melbourne Grand Prix, he finished in P6 then, so a great race for him. I do recall him having front wing damage. I do remember the Aston Martin having front wing damage in Australia, had to box, and the safety car helped him get back towards the end. And also at Qatar, he finished in P7 then. So top 5 finishes so far, and let's see what he does then. Bazza, however, taken pole position. He hasn't won at all this season, so he's still searching for his first race win, as he was quite close in Austria, but King Panda took away his glory.
Yeah, absolutely. It's close at the top. Only 1-2 tenths separating the 1, 2, and 3. Usual suspects at the top with Bazza, Palmer, Sofian as well. So yeah, hopefully we get a clean getaway. There was a couple of safety cars in Qatar last week, so yeah, there could be some chances to spice things up again this week in China.
I remember 3 safety cars in that race as well, so many safety cars bunched up the whole field, with a lot of drivers picking up penalties towards the end, which some of them had a massive disadvantage at as well, and some of them gained without having any penalties. This could be the same scenario as well, because it's so easy to pick up warnings through here, especially at the exit. Well, final corner is quite difficult itself in general. The middle sector can be very difficult, the twists and turns through there and the slow speed corners, and we'll see how these drivers manage it then. Safety cars are also a high chance around here, so drivers have got to be very alert and have their wits about them when the safety car comes out, to see what strategies and tyres they go on. But we'll see the tyre strategies then, what people go on for, because I know in this tier some people do put on the soft compound tyres. It's not really the optimal race strategy, but obviously with the safety cars coming out quite early and loads of safety cars coming out, some people do put on the softs. The optimal strategy for any track really is mediums to hards, or hards to mediums, like it always has been since 2022 when they changed the regulations for qualifying, because before then the tyre you set your fastest lap inside the top 10, that's the tyre you start on, unless it was long qualifying of course in Q2 like it was in Cone a few seasons ago. But the lights have gone out then, and it's the formation lap, Kalen, so we'll see what tyres people started on.
Okay, yeah, so we got a formation lap again this week. The game's obviously fixed itself from the issues that we've been experiencing with online racing, but yeah, going back to the strategy, you really wouldn't want to use a soft tyre around here. I think at most you'll get 5 laps out of it before it just completely falls off a cliff. But yeah, as the nature of this track goes, as you get towards the final sector, the tyres are absolutely cooked, especially as you're pushing. So a lot of tyre management to be going on during this race. You could also almost expect a 2-stop if you were going to be using a soft tyre around here. So yeah, medium hard is what I would choose.
Depends when that safety car comes out, it could change into other people's ways, but we'll see then how it all unfolds. Palmer surprisingly on the soft compound tyre then, as you can see there, all 3 tyre compounds being used. Apparently there's a chance of rain, and that's why people may have gone on the hard, medium/softs, and people on the durable tyres on the hard compound tyres, which is for Ron Flash and Craigo. If you hear any noise in the background, apologies for that. But Fandango there in P6, he has been looking for a race win / podium for quite a long time, as Palmer has not done his tyres any favours whatsoever by spinning before the corner there, and he luckily didn't get if there was damage on the formation lap, he would have lost his wing for sure after hitting the wall or losing his tyre. But yeah, he took the tyres a bit too much, and obviously the softs being the most malleable tyre, and not done any favours with his tyre wear whatsoever.
Yeah, absolutely. I find it interesting that I still see drivers weaving on the formation lap, you know, with the meta of this game, that you can kind of hold the brake and accelerate at the same time to gain tyre temperature. You're also not wearing the tyres that way, so maybe that's a secret that a lot of people don't know. Well, they certainly know now if they watch the stream back. But yeah, I don't tend to weave these days.
Neither do I, unless I just want to. But yeah, let's see how it all unfolds. Into the first corner, we could see some drama like we did see back in 2016 when Kvyat, Raikkonen and Vettel had their moment at turn number 1, and that's when Danny Kvyat had his famous nickname for the Torpedo back in 2016 and stuck with him ever since then. But McLaren on the front row then.
Yeah, so McLaren on the front row, lined up alongside him is Sofian, and Warrior Huntsman's been disqualified, so he's of course gone too far in his pit box. As we see here, over to you, Jamie.
The lights are about to go on then for the Chinese Grand Prix for round number 5. And for a very long time we are waiting for the Chinese Grand Prix. Then Basil looks like he's got a good start ahead of Sophia, and then Palmer should be quick on the soft compound tyres. Will he try and go around the outside into turn number 1? We go Sophia, and then late to the brakes, covers Palmer off. What about Punishman into P4 there? Can he fancy a move there as Sophia gets very close towards Fandango?
Yeah, Warrior Huntsman's been tagged there into turn 1. He's lost quite a few positions, 4 positions off the start, and he seems to get a bit squirmy through the long right-hander there. As yeah, ultimately a good, safe, clean getaway.
Yeah, Fandango was very close to hit the back of the rear of Jay Hartnell as he broke late there. Palmer with the soft compound tyres having extra grip on the Aston Martin. Tried to fancy a lunge up the inside of turn number 6, but couldn't quite pay it off, and Sophia in there holding on for dear life against Palmer. You can see Sophia struggling this double left-hander. Will compromise him on the exit. Will Palmer try and get him down the inside here, or will he wait for the straight? No, he's already committed. But Sophia laid to the brakes, but Palmer still has the inside line. Now it switches as it reverses back towards Sophia and having the inside line. But he spun! He has spun, unfortunately, has Sophia, and he's going to drop all the way down the order now. And that's an easy overtake there for Palmer. That's a shame for Sophia in there. I know how it's like to be on the inside of that corner and lose the grip. And here comes Jay Hartnell then alongside Punishman, who's on the hard compound tyres. So I don't expect it to be quick at this stage of the race unless he can hang in there when the DRS is enabled then. But Jay Hartnell takes P3 away. You almost hit the back of Palmer, you know, but going very deep into turn 14 as King Panda is ahead of Fandango for the time being. As we head into the final corner we go then. Been quite a tense first lap, but you can see Jay Hartnell in the final corner gets out of shape there, and here comes Panda. Might take on the Aston Martin too. Now they're going side by side. Here comes Fandango then. There's 2 groups fighting here. Into turn 1 we go. It's going to be so tight. Fandango has disposed Jay Hartnell. He might fancy a lunge up the inside now. Going into turn number 2 and 3 we go. Now let's see how it all evolves between those two. Fandango, it hasn't made the move there on Panda, and Panda stays into P4 for the time being. So great racing between those 2 groups. But the AlphaTauri up the inside into turn number 6 we go then. That's the software of Chugs, and he moves himself up into P6. But Punishman has got ahead of Palmer. Interesting there. Palmer must have lost traction coming out of turn number 6. He's on the soft compound tyres, of course, but might try and go around the outside. Quite a dodgy move there because it's so easy to go off the track with the amount of marbles and dirty bits on your debut on your tyres there, but couldn't quite make the move stick.
Yeah, absolutely, Jamie. What a great start here for Bazza. He's already got a 2-second gap as we're on the second lap of the Grand Prix, and he's heading down the back straight now. And yeah, it's a good start for him. We're really looking for.
Oh, Fandango spun! He's spun coming out of turn number 12 and 13. Got on a throttle way too early, lit the rear tyres up. Ah, that's a shame there for Fandango. I keep saying that every single week. I do mean it, of course. But Fandango, there, every time he's high up there, he just seems to make little mistakes. I remember saying that last season, Palmer cutting the curb through there at the exit of turn 14. So that's definitely a warning coming his way. With Panda alongside him now. Goes around the outside. Palmer didn't really fight that. Oh, he's lost the car! And he almost hit the wall there. And thankfully stayed out of it. So wisely got out of the throttle to make sure he didn't hit the wall at the exit of the last corner like plenty of people have done in the past. But Chugs there trying to go around the outside into turn number 1. Now he's the highest software in this race, with Jay Hartnell defending for dear life against the software. Leon and Cammy are fighting for P10 and P11. They go side by side into turn number 2 and 3 we go. Now they squeezed each other there. And looks like Cammy has the advantage on Leon for the time being as we head down into turn number 6 once again with these drivers. Quite a few moves being made here at turn number 6. This is another possible overtaking opportunity as well.
Yeah, it certainly is, Jamie. But what did we say here about the traction zones, especially in the long right-handers here and the one onto the bank and on the back straight? That's two spinners we've had at the beginning of this race with Sophia and Fandango, so really not an ideal start for those two. And Fandango, yeah, a great qualifier, but once again, these mistakes, they're not helping him so much in the races.
And Krager was bold and brave to go around the outside of Fandango, going out of turn number 10, I believe that was then. So Bazza has a 3.8 second gap, a world of his own. You can see his championship rival down in P7 at the moment. He hasn't lost too many places to Palmer, but not ideal, of course. Panda with the DRS and slipstream makes the overtake around the outside before the corner. That was a great move there to pick him off. And now we've got the AlphaTauri and the Ferrari going side by side. Aizen gets squeezed on the curb there. Not ideal for traction, of course. You don't want to get on the curb because you'll light up the rear tyres. And he might be under pressure now from Palmer, who's fighting back as we head down on the straight there for lap 4 out of 28. Then we might see some rain then. So here we go into turn number 1 with Palmer and Aizen. And Aizen has the inside line, but Palmer there doing the old switcheroo. But now sneaking up the inside into turn number 2 and turn 3 and 4 we go. Let's see who gets better traction. Coming out of this corner, we should be Palmer with the outside line. I'm not quite sure when it's going to rain there, but it could come very quickly on this circuit there. So that's why drivers might be in a bit of a desperate situation to try and make up as many positions as they can before the rain starts to impact the circuit. But the driver who would definitely benefit from this would be Bazza with a 4.1 second gap. That was very crucial to get a good start and keep out of other people's troubles and those squabbles as well. That's allowed him to pull a 4.2 second gap on his rivals with Panda in P2. Chunders is now ahead of Dat Roland, has put his Red Bull into P8 then. So what a dream start there from Bazza, as Dat Roland is the first man to pick up a penalty after he oversteered off the track at turn 10, and the result of that cost him and gave him a penalty.
Yeah, certainly not. Getting time penalties around a track like this, it's you know, there's high chance safety car, and as well with the rain possibly on bounds. Yeah, penalty is not what you're looking for. But King Panda, what a great start from him. He's looking like he's really using low wings, which not overtake on Polishman on the hard tyres. He really gains, you know, half seconds to 6/10 down the back straight with DRS of course as well. But yeah, great start to the race for him.
As you can see, the Alpine there going off into Narnia at the exit of turn number 14 there, completely outbroke himself, and he's just cost himself a place towards Trunders then, might fall into the clutches of Leon then. So the DRS train now is behind King Panda, as he's got a few cars right behind him, of course. Mixture of strategies going on there with the softs and the mediums then. It is raining at my end. I don't know if you can hear the rain in the background, but if you can, apologies for that, as Krago and Fandango are squabbling for P14 and P15. It's raining where I am, and now it's raining here in China then, so we might see some intermediates being bolted on to these cars very shortly, Kalen.
Yeah, so here comes that rain that some of the drivers are talking about in the paddock chat, and this is really going to benefit the guys on the soft tyres, because they're, you know, the soft tyres, they run at a high temperature, and that's what's going to help them in terms of grip around here as the track begins to decrease in temperature.
Palmer's made a huge mistake there coming out of turn number 7, I believe. He's just spun. I think he was side by side with somebody, but these mistakes he can't afford to make because he's in the championship fight, and plus the rain is coming as well, so he might lose a lot of positions. It'll be very hard to gain on back due to the rain as well. It's not easy to follow around here or overtake in the rain then, so while these drivers can, I think Ruben and Camille go side by side, but Ruben's actually dropping down the order. He's spun where Fandango spun, and he's fallen down then into the last few positions. But Polish man is up into P2 then. He's on the hard compound tyres then, so must have known about the weather, or maybe the weather radar wasn't accurate. But for another lap is going around on the... Oh, he's going side by side in the final corner. Panda's coming back at Polishman, but Polishman gets a decent exit, but now he'll be under huge pressure into turn number 1, with Panda having the DRS then, as he heads up the inside into T1 he goes, and stays there for the time being then.
Ooh, Palmer gets a pit engine. It's really wrong. It's really wide, and if there wasn't for the... Oh, and he's locked up. Okay, I think he may have hit the wall there, but he's been reset by the game. It's important. Let's keep an eye on Warrior Huntsman here, as he was the first driver to pit onto the intermediate tyres, and he seems to be gaining a lot through the first and middle sector compared to the guys on the dries. So, yeah, it's definitely we're at the crossover here, Jamie.
Yeah, we can still Steve Panda and Polishman going side by side. They came side by side ever since turn number 2, and they're still at it. Polishman now has the inside line. Further behind, Jay Hartnell spun and into the gravel he goes then. It was about survival now on these dry tyres, but unfortunately he's going to drop all the way down in the order. And all you had to, well, it's easier said than done, but it's all about survival before you go to the intermediates then. Look at Chugs on the soft compound tyres, gets a decent exit in the place you would expect overtaking, but here we go then, into the slow speed corner we go. You can see him sliding there. You've got to be very careful now on the traction. Everybody will be in the pits very shortly then. And DRS then is still unable for Chugs to get past Panda. Panda is 1.5 seconds, so he's lost a bit of time then towards himself and Polishman after that slight mistake. And with Chugs fancy a move he should do, because he's going to switch over to the intermediates then. So might as well get this overtake done now, just in case he can't do it in the wet, as it's very difficult to overtake. But Chugs is up the inside, he's made it stick, and he's got ahead of Panda, unless Panda can get a better exit. You can see a massive wheel spin. Panda gets a decent exit. Bazza is in the pit lane. Polishman has decided to stay out there for some reason. I'm not quite sure why, because it looks like it's definitely time for the intermediates. As you can see, oh, Chunder's almost hit the wall there. A few cars have almost done that. Panda has picked up a 5-second time penalty. It's the wall. And he almost repeated Lewis Hamilton there, but there's no gravel trap. Did Craig go? He almost went to the wall there. That was so close there. Between all these drivers almost hitting the wall. I must have seen about 3 or 4 drivers do that.
Oh my goodness me, it's all going off here, isn't it, Jamie? And yeah, looking at that Roland here, he's really nailed the strategy. I believe a lot of drivers still in the pits, and I think it's going to jump a lot of positions. As he's coming down the main straight now into turn 1, and he's jumped a lot. He's up into P6 now. That strategy call to go on the inside as early as it did, really working out for him.
Indeed, then, so made up quite a few positions. As you can see, a few drivers picking up penalties in the pit lane as Fandango has called it a day. DRS has been disabled then due to the intensity of the weather. No DRS will be enabled now for the rest of the race, but Polishman has decided to stay out there then on... a safety car has been deployed, and I think Polishman may benefit from this, you know, because... it'll bunch up the whole field. There's a delta you have to respect, and he might rejoin a P2 still, so the damage is limited there.
Yeah, so you've got 18 seconds, 19 seconds to P2, so I think he actually may keep the position. The delta, of course, is what I think it's 40% of the fastest lap, and yeah, so that was the DNF for Warrior Huntsman. He's obviously lost it on traction coming out the hairpin in the final sector, so unfortunate for him.
Yeah, Palmer's on the wet tyres for some reason. I'm not quite sure how heavy this is going to get. But a few drivers there not happy in the chat then. Chinese Grand Prix proved to be chaotic for some drivers, and some drivers losing the cool a bit, because not a type of track you expect to see people impeding each other, especially with the runoff areas around here, as Polishman then has been blessed by the Formula 1 gods with a safety car. Otherwise he would have fell down the order dramatically, stayed out there on the hard compound tyres, but luckily a safety car has worked his way. Otherwise, it would have been a different story for him, I dare say. But I think he'll rejoin in P2 at least, unless he can get that pit lane now and beat Bazza to the line. Can he do it? No, he can't, so that's P2 for him. Damage limitation there for Polishman, because he would have lost a lot of positions, Kalen, if the safety car didn't save him.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, so that safety car came at the right time for punishments. I do believe that was possibly the wrong strategy call. But yeah, he's into P2. I feel like he could have got P1, but of course the delta goes from in between the two safety car lines, so Bazza could go flat out down the main straight, and that's kept him P1.
I think Bazza would have put his foot to the floor as much as he could on that straight, even though with the delta being in red, just to get ahead of Polishman and then slow down before he hit the penalty mark as well. Some drivers do that when I've done it myself as well. When some drivers in the pit lane, I tend to go flat out even under the delta, then slow down once I get to the first corner to gain that time back, or get that time back in the green. But Bazza then still remains in P1 for the time being, with King Panda picking up that 3-second time penalty then might not do him any favours towards the end of the race. Dat Roland also in P6 there, picking up penalties too, and he's gained 9 places so far in this race. He started P15 up into P6 after a great strategy call, one of the first ones to go in the pit lane as well. Polishman's gained 3, and Panda's gained 4, along with Chuck's in 4. Eisen gained 6 after dismal qualifying. Chunder's gained 6. Savian's lost 6 then, but remember, he did spin, but so he's up into P8 so far, so with the safety car coming out, might give him a second chance this race to come back from that. Cammy has gained 8, Craigos lost 1 along with Leon who's lost 1, Jay Hartnell's lost 8 so far, so unlucky to him in this race. Ruber's gained 1 and Mighty Atoms gained 2, with Runner Flash gaining 3, and the biggest loser of them all is Palmer.
Yeah, so Palmer's not going to be too happy with that. Of course, our championship leader and our Qatar race winner from last week. He's picked up a 3-second time penalty as well. But yeah, so he was on the wet tyres initially when he boxed with another safety car. He's pit again, come out on a fresh set of inters. Perhaps it was either a mistake or he's opted against that strategy call now. Of course, other safety car is the best time to do that.
Yeah, Palmer making an optimistic move around the outside into a high-speed corner while the weather conditions get worse and worse. Wasn't ideal for him. He was on the soft compound tyres. I dare say the softs was the right call because it only lasted about 5 or 6 laps, like you said. But you had to extend it until the weather. And people on the hards, I thought they would lose out dramatically, but actually Polishman, one of those drivers who actually started on the hards, didn't actually lose too much. But yeah, like I said, the safety car definitely saved him. Otherwise, he would have found himself further down the order than he thought. But yeah, luckily for him, the safety car came out at the right time too.
Yeah, well, Polishman, he's an experienced driver here in CRL. He knows his stuff. He knows what to do. And yeah, that gamble looking for the safety car, it's paid out for him. So yeah, of course, starting on the hard tyres, he's going to have a less grip, and when the rain comes along as well, it's equally going to have even less grip. So it's about keeping it clean at that point. As we've seen a lot of spinners here, time penalties, a couple of incidents, and keeping your nose clean is really the important thing around this track.
Yeah, it is now about survival once again, and now the rain has came down in real life for me, and also here in CRL for the Chinese Grand Prix too. So weather has been known to play a factor in the Chinese Grand Prix. We've seen plenty of it before in the history of any racing league you've been in so far. It can change dramatically as well. Can either be a good race or a bad race for some people. It's a difficult track. A lot of people detest it, but it is what it is. Really, can't always be in a good race, and you got to suffer through your worst days as well and try and come back stronger. So, like Palmer as well, he was in a really great position in the last few races with like 3 podiums in a row. He had his misfortunes in Austria where all the chaos was happening behind him when the rain came, and he spun. I think he made contact with both Ferraris, went downhill from there. But later on, next 2 races, finds himself on the podium, then eventually a race win after being beaten by Lozano Zera in Australia and Suzuka, and he came back strong in Qatar. But obviously China is not everyone's favourite, so they might find themselves falling down the order. But oh well, you got to suffer through your worst tracks and hopefully come back stronger than the next ones. You can't always have a good race, can you, Kalen?
No, absolutely. It's as they say, it swings and roundabouts here in championships. We've all been in championship fights, and in Palmer's case here, he's got a bit of bad luck today, but generally speaking, he's consistent enough. He's going to be fine towards the end of the season. And yeah, it's a long old season as well, 15 racing weeks. So yeah, a lot will happen, ups and downs.
And Bazza Fox, by the way, is searching for his 3rd podium of the season and his 1st win, so can he finally get it after being beaten at the Austrian Grand Prix by King Panda, where I think King Panda did the undercut on him and gained about over 2 seconds, and it rained so he wasn't able to claw his way back in. And in Suzuka, he didn't have a great race. I remember the likes of Bazza and Panda didn't really have a great race, and Suzuka themselves, whereas Palmer's did. He finished 2nd, but still behind Lozano Zera. Verona Flash picked up a podium as well at the Suzuka Grand Prix. And at Australia, we all know what happened there between Lozano Zera and Palmer, and Fandango, of course, unfortunately retired. I really hope we can see Fandango winning a race because he's clearly got the pace to do it. It's just the consistency, like all the things that's needed in Formula 1, all the elements and combination you need to win a Grand Prix or get high up in the standings. But unfortunately he's just missing a few elements there, and hopefully he can find all that to get himself up there. But we know he's a strong driver. He always comes back strong in every race. He's taken a few pole positions this season and last season too, if I can remember correctly. And hopefully he can finally find that day where he can be up there, because we know he's got it in him. It's waiting. It's just a long waiting game for him. And at Qatar, Palmer won the Grand Prix with Bazza in P2, with Panda falling down the order, because I remember on the first lap that something happened to Panda and he fell all the way down to the back, so I'm not quite sure what happened to him, because I was on board with somebody that crashed. I think it was Ian Marshall who crashed when he got tagged, I think, by the back of Polishman, which ultimately led to his sacrifice in the race, because he had a podium, he finished on the podium with no penalties, but he picked up a post-race penalty himself afterwards, which dropped him down the order to P8, where Chugs was able to take advantage. To talk about Chugs, he's currently in P4 then, so could he find himself on the podium for the second race in a row?
Yeah, absolutely. That would be unbelievable for him. But yeah, a note on King Panda. Of course, since his race win in the opening race in Austria, he's not actually been on a podium since then. With a P4 the following week, a P5 the following week, and then again P13 last week. So he's declined in his race positions, but he's here in P3 now. He does have that 5-second time penalty, but there's a lot of laps left to go, so he should be happy with this position so far.
And there's been a new safety car rule that's been implemented in the chat. I've not read it myself, but it all happened at Qatar when I think Relentless Nathan, who slowed the pack down to a slow pace in CRL. Personally, for me, don't get me wrong, I thought there was nothing wrong with it, but the CRL stewards thought differently, and now there's been a new rule which has been implemented in the system then, that all drivers have to adhere and obey. But the safety car then has peered away, and we've got a yellow flag. Says Mighty Atom has spun, where Antonio Giovinazzi lost it in 2017 when he was replacing Pascal Wehrlein when he crashed, I think, in the Race of Champions. Replaced him for those two races, and he suffered a crash there at the exit of turn 16, the final corner. Most easiest place to crash of them all.
Yeah, definitely. Just looking at the safety car restart, I'm looking at Verona Flash, and his car appears to be ghosted. I'm not sure if that's a visual glitch on my screen or if he's left the session, but he's trundling around there in P14, and Palmer appears to be closing in. Yeah, Palmer goes through him now, so he's definitely ghosted. So not sure what happened there to Verona Flash, but I think he might be out of the session.
Yeah, he is. That's his AI driving, so whatever happened to Verona Flash? He's left the session, unfortunately, and he's left his teammate up there in P3 to fight it all. But Bazza then stays in P1 for the time being with Polishman. The benefit for Bazza is that in the wet conditions there's no DRS, so he won't be under huge pressure as much, but still it's very crucial in this part of the track where it's very easy to lose the car on traction, never mind in the dry, but in the wet too. King Panda is all over the back of him, and now they're going side by side, both using the ERS. Who's got better straight line speed? I know Polishman hasn't. You can see that the Haas is blasted past the Aston Martin on pure pace, but Polishman switches to the inside. It's the hairpin we go then at the heavy braking zone at turn 14. Panda has the outside line, should get better traction, and he does there. Well executed there for Panda. Panda has pulled off some great moves so far. Sofian versus the Red Bull Chunders there. You can see Sofian there, wheel spinning on the exit of turn 14 as Chunders just stays ahead of the Aston Martin. But does the Aston Martin now gets a much better exit, more tidier exit than the Red Bull? Used his ERS to his advantage as we head down into turn 1. Has the inside line, he goes near to the brakes. Chunders is still there on the outside, gets squeezed to the outside, carrying the speed, trying to stay around the outside, but he can't do it for the time being, and Sofian there moves up into P7 then. So some great races so far between these guys, and Chunders is not giving up on the back of that Aston Martin, who finds himself that running ahead of him, who's into P6. But Chunders there looks like he's got a much better drive, and I thought he'd go up the inside. He actually tapped the back. He's going up the inside once again. He outbrakes himself. Ooh. He goes off the track, and Sofian there survives for the time being then. As you can see, Sofian gets a much better drive out of turn 6. He actually gets ahead going into turn number 7, and that Roden, you can see him squirming there, fights in the car, making sure that he doesn't lose car control and spin, but unfortunately he's been beaten by Sofian. You can see him oversteering all over the place there, so he's not quite comfortable. He's got Craigo all over the back of him then, and Craigo, another risky move around the outside. He's already done that once, and now comes Chunders as Craigo again got bogged down, but three of them, three into one doesn't go, but thankfully,
oh my goodness me.
Thankfully he doesn't get, none of them make contact. They did, but it was only slight. No front wheels lost, no end plates lost, and they all make it out there unscathed. But that Roden has lost 3 places on this lap, so unfortunately he's fallen down the order. They're not really liking these wet conditions. Looks like it's intensified out there, the rain is, Caleb.
Yeah, absolutely, and yeah, a little bit of wheel banging, a bit of paint traded, but nothing too unfair from what I can see at this end, Jamie. But yeah, looking at that Roland here, he was using the ERS coming out of the bounce corner, and he was Formula One was basically Formula Drift. He was sideways for the whole corner, and quite a spectacle to see, but not good for his tyres, not good for his lap time either.
Oh, Jay Hartner gets squirrely coming out of the final corner. They get pushed on the curb. He's trying to overtake that Roland around the outside. He tried to go, but couldn't do it. Chunders is now going side by side with Craigo for the second time in a row. He's trying the outside line, but not working off for him. Palmer versus Leon. Leon trying to stick it around the outside. Now has the inside line. Into this next corner we go. Let's see then which one of them will get out first. Leon there, still applying the throttle there to try and get ahead of Palmer, and finally he gets ahead of him as he gets the inside line claimed towards him. But these guys bunched up with people struggling in these wet conditions, some better than others. However, Palmer is up the inside into turn number 6 we go. We can see that Ronan ahead of us just fighting there. Leon gets pushed on the curb. He gets bogged down as well. Wasn't able to get on the throttle as he would have wanted. And now he's lost the place towards Cammy. As further up, that Ronan is sliding on all over the place. I fear for him, you know. It looks like he's going to spin in every single corner he goes in, but he just manages to save the car with a whole bunch of cars right behind, looking to take action. Jay Hart now tried sneaking up the inside, couldn't get it paid off as Palmer there now fighting with Jay Hart now, but lost the car slightly and saved it thankfully. But Palmer now around the outside into this next corner we go, has the inside line now, and those two are fighting on traction coming out of turn 12 and 13. Palmer's ahead. Dat Ronan sliding all over the place as Chugs has overtaken Polishman. I've been so focused on the battle from behind, I've not actually focused on the front. Chugs is ahead of Polishman, but Polishman gets a decent exit. Is still alongside, by the way. Might have to yield, might get a better exit out the final corner, but as you can see, Chugs is a roadblock for the time being in the final corner. Dat Ronan up on the outside. There's contact made into turn 14. Keep an eye on P3 because there's still another battle into turn number 1 we go. Can't do it. Leon's ahead for the time being. There's cars all over the place. Jay Hartnell's come through. The Mercedes is off the track. Jay Hartnell has overtaken them both. Up into P9 we go now with the Williams looking very interesting further behind. Leon's on the inside line of Cammy. It's so hard to just navigate through all these drivers and follow through, but Palmer might have taken 2 for 1 there. I think Cammy's gone wide, and also Dat Ronan's gone wide too. He still has the inside line, but we know what he's been like in this weather so far. It's fighting the car all over the place. Ruben now is the next driver to take action, but Palmer has lost traction coming out of turn number 4 now. He's been pressurised once again as he tries to go little on the brakes there. Better contact made in the process. Dat Ronan goes deep on the brakes. Palmer does the switchback and he gets ahead. All siding coming out of the corner there, and Ruben there might take advantage of that. Yes he does, or does he? No, a bit too tight there for Ruben. Luckily didn't risk it, smartly backed out of it. Might take advantage now. As you can see, the Alpine is all over the show. Just can't keep it on the road. He's in the wall. He's out of the race. Oh, that was a long time coming, I dare say.
Yeah, absolutely not ideal. He was really slipping and sliding all over the place. It was like a water park there out for Dat Roland, and yeah, he's out of the race, and that's the second full safety car of the Grand Prix. But yeah, I was on board there with Polishman and Chugs, and they were going at it as well for that battle for P3. Baza in the end had pulled a second gap out on Panda on that previous lap as well. So yeah, it's all going off in the midfield, but at the front, these guys are looking like they've got a good amount of pace.
Yeah, Basil Fox having great pace so far and pulled the gap over King Panda. Panda is in the pit lane now. What tyre? Is this a brand new winter or is it a brand new set of wets? We'll see. I don't think the rain is heavy enough for the wet tyres. It doesn't seem like out there. So we'll see what tyres he goes for. I think it's a brand new set of winters to have that tyre life towards the end of the race. Have that security of finishing the race too on. No, it's I thought it was a front wing change. You just saw the MoneyGram front wing there, but oh, it's a 5-second time penalty removal too. So that's quite a tactical there for Panda to get rid of it in the pit lane.
Yeah, smart. It's one of these races where I can see there being another safety car, especially with the conditions. King Panda doesn't want to have a late safety car and then have those 5 seconds hanging around his neck. Especially when he's got good pace at this this evening. So yeah, a good idea. Bolt a fresh set of boots on, get rid of that penalty, and see where he can go again.
So situation is Craigo is on the wet compound tyres, of course, so keep an eye on him for reference. But further up, both Aston Martin. Citroen is up into P4. Remember what happened to him on the first lap? I think he spun coming out of turn 12 or 13. So great recovery drive from Citroen then in the second phase of the race. It's all about survival now in the second part of this race. The drive period was well, trying to gain as most positions as you can, or for Baz's sake, put a big gap until the rain came. But Polish man, luckily for him, that first safety car benefited him, and now we've got a second one then. So 2 safety cars here at the Shanghai Grand Prix International Circuit, which is not a surprise here at all. It's very easy to lose the car in the dry or wet conditions. You gotta be pay attention all the time around here at this track, because one mistake could find yourself in the barriers.
Yeah, absolutely. And so Palmer, though, is the only driver now with a time penalty with the DNF from Dak Rowland. I've been on board with Palmer a little bit. He's really struggling with the ABS in the wet conditions, as do I generally as well, locking up the fronts, locking up the rears. But it's been a good safety car restart for Palmer. He's gone from P17 now to P6, only 15 runners now. So, yeah, in 7-8 laps. Made multiple overtakes. Oh, and he spun round there, Palmer, under the safety car into the hairpin of, what's that, turn 15? He may have gone over the corner there as well. Might have got a warning for that, but yeah, just reiterate what I said. It seems like he's struggling a little bit with the rear locking.
Yeah, so might have to up his brake bites. So I think somebody should tell him in the party to up his brake bites for more stability on the front end. Obviously, if you put it towards near 50%, you'll lock the rear brakes. You put it backwards, forwards or backwards. If you put it backwards, sorry, there we go. If you put it backwards, you reduce the chances of locking up your rears. It might be a case of 56 or 57% on the front, maybe, but depends what corner you go into, because the brake bias can change from corner to corner then. So it looks like he's gonna have to adapt to that for the time being. But yeah, no ABS in the rain is more beneficial than ABS in general. Let me talk about it in the rain, because with ABS you don't have that stopping power. You just slid off the track. With ABS you can slow the car down with the engine braking too. So no ABS in the rain is very beneficial for those drivers who know what I'm talking about. It's hard to explain, but hopefully you all know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it certainly is. In the wet conditions with no ABS, I've always struggled. I feel like I'd almost will never get it nailed down. But I feel how Harry Palmer is feeling here in these conditions. It's so tough, and with this game in general, with the rear locking, it's so much more animated than it is from last year. So it's really a change of driving style for all of us not using the ABS system.
Kalen, by the way, do you know with the new update on the game, I'm not really seeing many tire marbles either. Are they still on the track? Well, as part of the game's feature?
Not too sure, to be honest, Jamie. I've not seen much of the game since the update, since last Thursday. I will keep an eye out for it. I'm not saying it in the wet conditions, and really maybe that's because the game has perhaps washed them all away. But yeah, now that you say it, I'm not sure if I've noticed it yet.
In Qatar, I didn't really notice it. In this race, in the dry period, I haven't really noticed it either, so I'm not quite sure if that's been removed or not. It's obviously more realistic with the marbles obviously being offline and all that, but obviously some drivers don't like that. But oh well, I don't know if you could turn it on or off or not, but yeah, we'll find out in the next upcoming races then, as the safety car comes in at the end of this lap then. The second safety car in this race. Palmer was lucky that the guys were further behind, otherwise he lost a lot of time, but looking for Palmer, stays in P6 despite that spin there. So hopefully no more spins for our championship leader, because every single race is critical, crucial I must say, this season. You can't afford to make any mistakes, especially after a shortened calendar. But Chugs, is he close enough on the back of Bazza to make a lunge into turn number 1 we go then? So it looks like Bazza's under pressure now as we head down into turn number 1. Let's see what happens. He's too far back on that occasion to make any sort of impression, as I think Panda's defending from Woodman. And no, actually he's actually overtaking him, so he's up into P7. He goes there. Obviously a guy, keep an eye on him by the way, because he's got rid of his 5-second penalty, plus he's on a brand new set of inters there. So he's level pegging now essentially with the other drivers. Palmer is the only driver to pick up a penalty. I thought there was a lot of small drivers, but here comes Palmer then with a great exit. As we see, double locks the brakes into turn number 6. That's fine, by the way. You can do that, double lock the brakes. It doesn't have much of an effect like you would in the dry. Panda takes advantage too of Jay Hartnell. So Jay Hartnell really struggled on exit there. As you can see, Panda and Palmer took advantage there. So Panda will be very quick now towards the end of the Grand Prix, with a brand new set of Inter being attached to that car.
Yeah, Panda's got a lot of grip here on board of him on the back of Palmer as well. Those tyres, 2 laps old compared to a lot of drivers on 9 and 10 lap old Inters, they're going to feel amazing towards the end of this Grand Prix.
Yeah, indeed. And I've also been in this situation before where it's rained at the Chinese Grand Prix and I haven't pitted when there's been a safety car, and it's about 12 more laps to go. That's 22 laps on the set of Inters. I don't know how long the Inters could go for. Wilbur getting out of shape for that turn 13. They're going to have a whole train of cars all over the back of him. So I'm going to keep an eye on Wilbur to see how many positions he loses or can he defend from it. Panda is all over the back of Palmer. Oh look, there's a battle for the lead. Chugs is going down the inside of Bazza. Into turn 14 we go. Let's see who gets a decent exit. They know level pegging so far on the exit of turn 14. Now going into the final corner we go. Bazza has that preferred on the inside line. Does he go out wide? Yes, he does. They might pick up a warning for that one. And Polishman might fancy getting on the action now. Getting very intense now. Has Panda, sorry. Yes, he has. And Chugs might go up the inside into turn number 1 we go then. So Bazza hasn't been able to pull that gap like he has done before. And he's going up the inside now into turn number 2 we go. And he takes the lead off Bazza then. So what a great lunge there from Chugs. He found some pace out of nowhere to stick with Bazza. And King Panda as well has dispatched Sofian and Palmer too, so that's great restart there for Panda. He's up into P4 and now finds himself a chance of winning or being on the podium in this race. Oh, Bazza has tapped the back of Chugs there, but thankfully not in a spin. He almost does though, as he lost traction. They're fighting for traction desperately. Bazza has now lunged up the inside. Look at this, we've got Polishman who gets squeezed on the curb here with Chugs around the outside, tried to take advantage of Chugs' mistake but kept him at bay. Panda lurking in the distance there, looking to take away these drivers' positions. Got to be very careful now. He knows he's got fresher tyres in comparison to everybody else, so he can't afford to make contact. He might get a decent exit coming out of turn number 10. Might fancy a lunge into turn 11. He's late to the brakes. He goes up the inside, and that's a great move unless he outbrakes himself too much. A Polishman can't go around the outside. So Panda into P3. He's got a big shot now of winning this race.
For me, that's fair. That overtake for Panda. Both drivers, Polishman and Panda, coming out of the banked corner there, getting sideways as well. But further back, Jamie, I don't think this strategy call to go on the wet tyres for Craigo has pulled off. He's lost 3 positions on that lap, and he's also lost a second as well for his last few corners. So yeah, he's probably going to stay on these tyres now, but I'm not sure that the wets were the correct strategy call there for Craigo, unfortunately.
A few more battles in the midfield then with Boobin off the track. Kami gets a good exit with Eisen taking advantage of his teammate. Moves himself up into P9. Last time we had a wet race, Chanders is up the inside. Last time we had a wet race, it was at the Austrian Grand Prix.
P2.
Yeah, Panda's
King
up the
Panda
inside.
then. Yeah, those tyres are really working well there for King Panda. He's also having a look at Chugs for P1 as well. I see King Panda possibly being able to take a very good result here. He's worked really well with that strategy call to get that 5 seconds removed, box for a fresh set of inters, and yeah, he's really making use of that extra grip here, Jamie.
Yeah, that's a great strategy call there for Panda. I thought Bazza would have this covered, but Panda there getting rid of his 5 second time penalty with a brand new set of inters on, made his way up to the field quicker than I thought he would. Wuber's got out wide, so is Leon, and Craig goes up the inside despite being on the wet compound tyres. And if it rains now heavy for Craigo, then he's in a great spot, but unfortunately not for the time being then, as he thought the rain would intensify even more. Maybe giving Bazza an idea what tyre to go on, because they're both in different positions of course. Craigo hasn't got much to lose, it must be said honestly, whereas Bazza has, so might be giving information towards Bazza, but still it looks like it's intermediates then with a light standing water just good enough for the inters. As you can see there, Leon swoops past the Ferrari with decent traction on the exit of turn 10, and now moved himself up into P11 he goes, but Chund is there off the track essentially with Kami defending for dear life, and Panda takes the lead of the race then off Chugs. Nothing Chugs could do about it, but he might go up the inside then. He has to, because if he doesn't fight him back, Panda will pull away with the fresh tyres, but Chugs outbrakes himself. Panda gets the switchback. He also swerves on the exit too for good measure, but still in P1 then. What a great lunge there from Panda, and I dare say I see him winning the race unless anything goes wrong for him, what he shouldn't do.
Yeah, look at that traction out of that corner as well. I can see here Panda's definitely using lower wings, and Chugs has used all his ERS in the attack then on Panda, and that's going to put him into the clutches of Bazza, and that's just what Panda wants. He wants P2 and P3 to battle here. 8 laps remaining for this Grand Prix, and he's going to be wanting to drive away from this field, isn't he, Jamie?
Yes, he is now. He should do like Bazza did. He had the advantage of the rest of them. I'm not quite sure what happened to Bazza's pace because he had great pace on the second before the second safety car came out. I remember seeing him pull it over 2-second gap of the rest of the field. But the Red Bull versus Mercedes, the exit of turn 4, Trunders has got his man and he moves himself up into P10 then. So the battle inside the top 10 is intensifying between these guys, constantly squabbling ever since the start of the race, and the battle still continues between these guys for Cammy, Chunders, Leon and Wuban as well in P12. A lot of drivers in this race I've seen have... Oh, look at this, Kayla. It stopped raining, mate, and we might see the dries being used, so that was very crucial for Panda to make use of those inters and essentially get P1, otherwise these drivers might have been on the soft compound tyres.
Yeah, it certainly has, Jamie. The rain has stopped here in China, and yeah, well, King Panda's got a 2-second gap now on P2, so that's a really good stint for him at the moment. So I'm not sure if it's going to dry up in time to go to the soft tyre. If it does, the soft tyre is definitely the one that they're going to want to be using at this stage of the race. But yeah, let's see how this goes on.
Let's see how quickly it dries up then, with Chunders now battling with the Alfa Romeo, and he moves himself up into P9 with Leon there with great straight line speed on the Alfa Romeo. Has lost 2 places there unfortunately on the straight, and Leon might gain 2 as well after going up the inside into turn 14 as Ruben there was close to hitting the back of the Alfa Romeo, but thankfully stopped the car in time. You can see they're all fighting for traction at the exit of the heavy traction zone at turn 14. But yeah, King Panda there, that was crucial for him to use his intermediates to good effect there to get ahead of the rest of them from P8 it was, I think, to P1, and gained 7 places and took P1, now pulling a big gap as well to get that to get the dividends later on in the race. But Palmer there has been close to overtaking Polishman. In fact, Polishman's lost 2 places because he was in P3 a few laps ago. Now he's down into P5 unfortunately. Sofian there stays where he started at the second safety car restart too. And Palmer there puts in immense pressure after having his own problems in this race, but still fought back as Craigo is on the soft compound tyres there now, so all eyes on him. Essentially he's the guinea pig now, as he might be giving information towards Bazza. But bearing in mind though, Craigo doesn't really go in parties with anybody during the race, he likes to be alone. So I think Bazza there might have to keep an eye on Craigo's pace if he can do so. I'm not quite sure how, maybe
not dry enough.
Yeah, I don't think it is.
Yeah, he's yeah, it's Bambi on ice, as some people would say here in CRL. But yeah, coming out the pit lane, of course, he got tyre warm up as well. So the tyres will improve from this moment forward. But at this point, he's going to lose way too much time as he slides off the track at the beginning of sector 2 there. So yeah, but you know, Craigo, I commend him. He has nothing to lose here. So fair play for giving that a try.
And both Aston Martins got very close, but Polishman did not overtake his teammate on the straight there, so I think both Aston Martins playing the team game. But if those two were ready, oh, you can see they're squirming for traction there. Palmer tagged the rear of Polishman, but Polishman's got to get it right this time, because I don't think for a second time in a row he's got off the track there at the exit of turn 16. He might find himself with Palmer all over the back of him. But this time Polishman's got to get the strategy right, because I don't say the racing gods will be in his favour this time. Only one time lucky there for Polishman, using all of his cards there. But yeah, I think Polishman, I dare say for his selfish sake, should have gone for the move, because both Aston Martins will have to double stacked being this close together. So Polishman there should have made the move. I think he's a reserve driver anyway, is Polishman. But here comes Palmer around the outside. This is getting so close now for P5. And Palmer might do the switcheroo, but he can't do it. They both make contact, they're both tagging each other. But Palmer squirms on the exit. Here comes Eisen. He might take them both on. We go into turn number 6, we go. But in fact, he lost both places as soon as he gained them, did Eisen there. But Palmer splits both Aston Martins then. And PA basically resolves those issues there, because Palmer, they're really struggling now coming out of turn 13. Turn 9, sorry, into turn 10. Now Polishman is alongside him once again, and as we make our... Oh, look at that, Eisen on the inside there. They go in 3 abreast. Into this corner we go. Not a place you want to fight whatsoever. Palmer's still there with Polishman, and Eisen somehow got really good traction coming out of turn 10 and went alongside them both to make it 3 wide. And luckily, not like in Mexico last season when we saw 3 wide, in the dry, we're able to make it out unscathed with Eisen straight line speed. He's overtaken Palmer, and now he's overtaken Polishman. He's got 2 for 1.
Wow, look at that.
The power of the Ferrari working in the hands of Isaac, but Palmer's late to the brakes. Look at that punishment up the inside once again as they make it 3 wide. Somehow they all make it out unscathed, or do they? Yes, they do, because punishment went off the track but came on quite safely with no. Oh, Sofian there has picked up a 3-second time penalty. But what a battle, Caleb, between these three.
Yeah, great stuff. Unbelievable. It's a little bit argy-bargy, but yeah, for the most part, it's very fair, very clean, very safe. And Palmer is a big winner there. He's gained 2 positions on the Ferrari and the Aston Martin, and he's going to want to boot off into the distance. But his tyres are some of the oldest on the field, with Polishman is 15 laps as well, Eisen 8 laps. Eisen's got the fresher tyres, but Polishman's got the battery, so they're going to be wanting to put the pressure on Palmer again now.
Yeah, Palmer really squirrely on the exit of some corners here. Got to watch out for him just in case he loses traction. But I want to say, what a battle here. Palmer's gone deep into turn 6, but shouldn't affect him too much. But Chunder's there lurking in the distance as well. That battle has allowed some cars to breathe in now and try and take advantage of some of these guys. But yeah, what a battle. These three going side by side in places I don't expect, such as turn number 11, that slow left-hander before we head onto the straight. And Leon versus Jay Hartnell into this middle sector we go now. Let's see which one of them makes it out on top, with Leon up into P9 then. But a lot of great battles I've witnessed in the rain here, which I didn't expect because it's so hard to overtake in the rain. But these guys making it work so far. And Palmer, despite being in P5, I thought he'd pull away, but evidently not. But you can see they're really fighting for traction. Their Chunder's really squirming at the exit. They can't afford to make mistakes now, Caleb, because the dry tyres will soon come into play. And it looks like it's be later. And look at Palmer there. Quite a late move, I dare say, from the Williams driver. Aizen was committed to go to the left, but Palmer went left too. But look at Lee, he had good reaction time to go to the right hand side. Will he outbrake himself? Yes, he does. He goes off the track, and Palmer might come back at him underneath him. As you can see, they're fighting with traction coming out of turn 16, and he makes it back out in front.
Yeah, you think some of these guys in the midfield would have learned from drivers around them and from their own mistakes. So maybe just take an extra meter braking just to make sure they get slowed down and to make the corner to make the move stick. As Polishman now goes around the outside of Aizen, obviously on those older inters as well. So he's finding a bit of grip here as the outside becomes the inside. And yeah, that's a good move, Jamie. I'm liking what I'm seeing there.
I am too, mate. You can see Jay Hartnell was on the medium compound tyres, surprisingly, but didn't go on the soft compound tyres. There's only 4 laps to go in this race. Maybe he started the softs earlier in this race, you never know as well. So might have run out of soft compound tyres, bearing in mind he might use them in qualifying too. But Jay Hartnell is one of those drivers who likes to go for quite a few laps on one set of tyres. He did do 4 laps on one set in qualifying earlier on this evening, but he's on the mediums then. Might take a while to warm up. We'll match his pace then and might give Chunders some crucial information there fighting in this midfield then. So the time for dry tyres is coming up very, very shortly then.
Yeah, definitely. As in the midfield here, we've got Trunders looking up the inside of Aizen as well. So he's falling a few positions there, Aizen, on those slightly fresher intermediate tyres. And yeah, for me, I think that it's just a little bit too wet still for the dry tyres. There've only 4 laps to go, 5 laps of racing. Oh, it's on board with Jay Hartnell. He's on that warm-up lap, gone into the gravel there in the middle sector. So yeah, confirming my suspicion of it being just a little bit too wet for dry tyres here, Jamie.
Unfortunately there for Jay Hartnell, but I thought it would have been dry by now. Chunder's coming up the inside into the hairpin we go, and he overtakes Eisen once again then. But Bazza is still sticking onto the back of Chugs, and these two were on the podium, I think, last time out at Qatar together. Might find themselves on the podium together once again. What a great recovery drive from Sofian in P4 after spinning out on the first lap. Palmer as well, a great recovery drive for him to go back up into P5. They're just driving for damage limitation, and Leon then is in the pit lane to put on a set of the soft compound tyres there. So it's all about it's all about how many tyres you use as well. Keep in mind, and look at Polishman getting a decent exit. It might take on Palmer as well. So Palmer, they squeeze each other into turn 5. Luckily, there's no further contact made as we go into turn number 6. Palmer late on the brakes there, outbrakes himself. Polishman comes back, which Chunders might want to take action as well. He says, "Thank you very much, I'll take that," and moves himself up into P6 then. So Chunders is also having a great drive there. He's on 10 lap old inters there, so he should be quick on this stage with those inters on other people's tyres just fading away. So those people who pitted on that second safety car are looking to claw their way back here, but Leon's retired! And this is a safety car, Kalen. Wow.
Ooh. Oh well, Panda's not going to like that. 6.6 second gap. There's going to be 2 laps of racing here, of course, Jamie, but for the guys with penalties, with Palmer, Sofian, with 3 seconds, yeah, that's certainly not ideal for our championship leader and for Sofian as well. But yeah, well, interesting to see what the drivers do here. I still just think, you know, that was Leon on fresh dries. It's just looking like it's still a bit too wet here.
Yeah, that's surprising, you know, because we're seeing in this game when the rain stops, the track does dry up very quickly. We see the dry tyres on, but it's been a few laps. I think it was lap 21 or 20. Oh, Panda stayed out here. Who is committed to going to soft compound tyres? Chugs in the pit lane. Bazza is in the pit lane. And Panda may have made the wrong choice, you know. This is going to be nip and tuck towards the end. This is going to get spiced up. Panda, the pendulum, swung towards his way. Polishman stayed out because he might want to avoid the double stack here, but Chunda stayed out too, and Aizen. So we've got some people committed on the drives, some people on the inters then. So this is going to be a war between the softs and the inters. This is going to be incredible towards the end. I can't wait to see how it all unfolds. Chugs is the highest runner on the soft compound tyres though, so keep an eye on those soft runners down there. Only 3 of them are pitted, but I dare say some drivers behind might go for that extra pit stop, take that risk. Palmer is on a brand new set of softs as well, so we're going to see what happens. Will it be dry enough? With this safety car coming out, the track will get drier even more. Will Panda, Polishman and Chunders and Aizen, the ones that stay out there, cost themselves, especially Polishman though, 18 lap old inters, but he couldn't do anything about it, of course, having that double stack.
Yeah, absolutely. Just further back there under the safety car, Aizen, he's actually off the track now as we speak. He's got wing damage. I believe he hit, or Chunders and him hit each other into the hairpin under the safety car, and Aizen's come out the worst there with a bit of front wing damage. He's definitely lost his end plate, and therefore a lot of points of downforce as well. But in terms of King Panda's sake, he's still got the fresher tyres, and he's going to take great joy in seeing 3 intermediate tyres behind him. He's not going to be so much as a threat from behind the soft compound tyres if it's dry enough as the safety car comes in here.
I feel sorry for some drivers because there's only been a 1 lap safety car, so those drivers who pitted onto a brand new set of softs or inters, or softs for sure, might not be able to catch up, such as Palmer downwards. Sofian's there in P8 on a brand new set of softs. I think he's caught up. No, he hasn't, because Chugs hasn't even caught up. Now he has. They're on the straight together then. So only 1 lap safety car here, because we came to the limit of how many safety cars we can have, and the lap limit as well when the safety car does stop coming out. So Panda has got to survive 2 laps of this, but bearing in mind though, the inters were still in favour only about a lap ago as well, so it could still be in the inters' way depending how much the track can dry out now. But this could be very intense. Who has got the right strategy? Is it the inter runners? Is it the soft runners? We're about to find out in the last 2 laps of this race. Panda, rounds off the final corner to end lap 26. On to 27 we go. All eyes on the soft runners there to see if they can use those tyres to good effect. Or is it dry enough? Is it still wet enough? We'll never know. Now we'll know. Into the first corner we go. There's the first victim on the inters. Passed immediately with Bazza following too. Obviously A's got full wind damage there, so that's why he might have lost some pace obviously in these corners, and Bazza's going around the outside now. Further behind, Sofian's fighting with Wilban there. Wilban's still surviving on those old inters, and now we're coming into turn number 6 then, with no overtakes being made then. So Panda will be very nervous now towards the end of this race, knowing there's soft runners behind. Sofian is up into P7 ahead of Wilban. The tyre difference is 20 lap holds, but I dare say now it does
dry enough.
Yeah, it does look dry enough now. So Chugs and Bazza then. The pendulum has swung towards back their way. Bazza might come to the inside. As you can see, Chugs defends, but there's contact there with the Rebel and the AlphaTauri. They can't afford to make contact. This is so tight. Bazza takes advantage of Chugs there, having a very bad exit coming out of turn number 10. As we head now into turn 11 we go. That was called by the Red Bull. The Red Bull's gone very wide. Bazza's coming through. Chugs is trying to go around the outside to make up that lost ground. And now he gets ahead of the Red Bull then. But that's not ideal for Chugs because he tried to defend from Bazza, but turned it into an overtake on the Red Bull there, which cost him and put him on the curb. Didn't get the best of exits. Bazza was able to get the best exit he could and overtake the AlphaTauri then. So he could win this race. Chunders is coming back on the soft runners, you know, with the straight line speed he has. But that was crucial there for Chugs to defend that. He couldn't afford to be stuck behind the inter runners.
Yeah, absolutely. And well, my goodness me, as we approach the final lap of the race, Polishman and King Panda need a perfect lap because Bazza is going to be on their tail immediately after the first couple of corners. The track is completely dried out after the safety car restart, and well, they're going to be feeling Bazza breathing down their neck very shortly, as here he is approaching the Polish man now into turn 1 and into turn 2. He's going to be wanting to make a move now into turn 3 after this first sector.
That's crucial there for Baz to get past Polishman. Now he's in a chance to win this race back where he was before the second safety car came out then. This is a battle for the lead, ladies and gentlemen. The soft runner versus the intermediates as we head into turn number 6 then. Chugs will be absolutely furious. He didn't overtake the Red Bull as quickly as he wanted. Sofia's a P3. Chugs has fallen down the order for some reason. Polishman's fallen down the order. So whatever happened to them, I'm not quite sure. But Bazza will take the lead of the race on the soft compound tyres then before turn number 8. And he is back where he was before the second safety car came out. Bazza, well, Panda will be wishing that safety car didn't come out or he pitted. He had the chance to pit, but he decided to stay out. It's so difficult to judge when to come in and what tyres to put. Well, obviously the soft compound tyres, but it's just so difficult in that situation. You've got a lot to lose. You just don't know what to do. And the guys behind then pulling the right strategy at the right time. It's all about the right strategy in this race as well, and not picking up those penalties. And Sofian might claim P2, you know, the battle for P2 is still on. If Sofian goes up the inside, Panda will have the grip on the dry. Well, Sofian will have a good exit if he can coming out of turn 14 to get him on traction. He should do. Yes, he does then. He moves himself up into P2. That's a shame there for Panda. And now Bazza heads towards the finish line to win the Chinese Grand Prix. Sofian in P2 ahead of Panda, and Palmer will finish. In fact, King Panda actually got Sofian. Palmer into P6 with Chugs in P4, Chugs P5. But what a shame for Chugs there. It looked like he was probably on course to win the Grand Prix, but he was stuck behind the Red Bull longer than he would have wanted. He couldn't dispose him, and Bazza could. And that what cost him the race today is Chugs.
Yeah, well, that's a great end to the race there. always like a little bit of rain with it drying up towards the end of the race. But yeah, not sure what happened to Sofian there at the end. It looked like he had P2 secured. Maybe he had a wobble coming out the final corner, and maybe he took a warning, took 3 seconds coming out the final corner. But yeah, great result there for King Panda, hanging on there with those intermediate tyres, 14 lap old intermediate tyres, so he's going to be happy with that one. And Bazza once again up there, and for me, I believe Bazza, after this race, is the new championship leader.
It could have swung towards anybody's way today. It looked like Panda was in the favour to win this Grand Prix, but when you got to be on the right tyres at the right time, a famous quote for somebody, and today that was Bazza. But yeah, Panda wished that a few more drivers on the Inters would have defended more, but it looked a bit sketchy going into turn number 9 with the Red Bull Trunders and Chugs, and I thought they were going to make contact there into that corner, but thankfully didn't. And Panda would be hoping that those guys defended as much as they could, but couldn't quite do it. Polishman was going to be vulnerable anyway, being on very old intermediate tyres, so there was no hope for him to defend. Those tyres would have been close to puncture territory range. But anyways, the victory belongs to Bazza. He had the pace from the get. It looked a bit, the victory was slipping away ever since that second safety car as Panda took the victory. But instead, it went towards Bazza in the end. And Sofian, on the podium for the 3rd time, I think. What a great drive for Sofian there. He'll be very happy and pleased with that one.
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
So we're just waiting for the Frenchman or Sofian Pandas in the session. I mean, in the party. We're just waiting for one more driver. Then we can kickstart the podium interviews. And here he is. Then the Frenchman or Sofian is back. Well, started P3 upwards like I always do every single week. But starting with Sofian. Sofian, mate. After the first lap, I bet you thought you had no podium in mind, did you?
Yeah, no, not really. I know I had good pace, so maybe I was hoping for a top five, like the best thing possible. And I was just sitting there, and then the safety cars helped me. With the rain, I wasn't very comfortable, but I was just waiting for my time, and it came at the last lap.
What happened on the first opening lap between you and Polishman there? Can you walk us through?
I don't know. I honestly don't. I don't know if I lost it on my own or if he spun me. I really have no idea, so I will have to review that. But once again, it's another incident for me. Like I feel like I have pretty good pace, and every time I make a mistake or I'm involved in an incident, so I need to improve on that.
Yeah, you do have great pace, mate, and it's a shame you get involved in incidents. Obviously, you don't. It looks like a racing incident from my point of view, on board with Polishman, but you fought back very well in the end as well, from what down in last place all the way up to P3. And how were the conditions, by the way, in the race? I bet you were struggling out there in the wet, weren't you?
Yeah, I don't know if it's because I play with no TC, but I was struggling so much with traction. Like every every time I accelerate, I was going to lose it. So I was saying that I was losing a lot of time to the car ahead. But once again, I said to myself, I have to keep it clean, and maybe something will happen, and it did.
You were close to Polishman on the last part of the race as well, and it was drying up towards the end. But I think you managed to overtake Polishman. I think you two were trying to play it safe with Palmer because Palmer was coming behind both of you, and it looks like Polishman was actually in a position to overtake you, but he backed out of it. I bet you were fortunate, luckily about that because that would have ruined your race because obviously it was drying up towards the end. You would have to double stack if it was you in that position.
Yeah, maybe. But I know I had good pace on the dry, and he made a mistake. So I passed him, and really I didn't want him to overtake me back because I knew if it was going to be dry, the one behind would get screwed with the pit stop. So it was very important for me to stay ahead. And I don't know, maybe because of the incident, he didn't try the move. But I know if he was really, really quicker, I would have let him through because there is no point for me fighting my teammate.
And also you picked up a 3 second penalty as well, so I don't think you were expected to finish the podium either, were you?
Yeah, I didn't at all. So I thought after the first lap I was done, and I will take it. Very happy for that podium.
Do you know when it comes to races like these with safety cars, wets and dries coming into play, is it really hard to make up the strategy? Like what goes through your head during these times when safety cars come out and also the weather comes into play?
Yeah, you have to pay attention to the condition every lap to know the right timing. Like to put inters, I wasn't sure, but I, my engineer told me that dry was still the right tires, but I saw that it was very wet, so I preferred to pit, and I think I made the right choice, even if the safety car came one lap later. But no, it was a interesting race, honestly. Like dry, wet, dry, very interesting, but yeah, hard to make the right choice.
Did you have a spare set of softs as well? Because I know in qualifying it was dry, and also in the race some people did use the soft compound tires at the start. So I think having the soft compound tires later on was also crucial as well, just to balance it out. So a lot of tires were being used in this race as well. So I bet
Yeah.
I bet you were trying. What was you trying to do at the start? Were you trying to save a set of softs, knowing it was going to dry up towards the end?
No, I was thinking that the softs, like they had high degradation, so I didn't save any, and I put like a set of softs with the one I did the one lap quali, so they were a little bit used, but it was fine. It was fine because the other were on Intel, so not a big deal. But I didn't save any.
Fair enough, mate. You got any questions for him, Kaelin?
Yeah, Sofian, nice to talk, of course. Congratulations on your podium.
Thank you.
But yeah, so a lot of changing conditions here today. But how did you find the traction in the high-speed corners. We were seeing a lot of spinners going onto the back straight on the banked corner. How are you finding it today?
Yeah, no, it was very hard. I play no TC with the controller, and I was struggling so much, man. Really, like I had good pace on dry, but once it got wet, it was so difficult. I was spinning, spinning the retires every time. So
Mm.
I lost it like I think every lap, two times every lap. I almost lost it.
Yeah, it's also a killer on tyre wear, of course, as well. It's very
Yeah.
rear limited. But yeah, how did you find it on the brakes? We were seeing a lot of tyres. Not sure if you use ABS or not, but we were seeing a lot of people, especially in intermediate tyres in the rain, out braking themselves, especially at the hairpin, going off the track. How did you find that?
Yeah, yeah, it's a bit tricky. Sometimes I brake too late and I was going a bit wide, but yeah, very very tricky condition out there. But I think I managed to the best of it. So P3 very happy with it.
Perfect. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congrats on another podium, by the way, Sofian. Is it your second podium this season or third?
Yeah, second podium after it's quite great after Qatar when I was second and I spun in the last corner. So
Oh yes, you did. You took out Van
yeah.
Go too.
Oh, I was still thinking about that. I was still pretty mad at that. So, no, it's great. I hope I can do better onwards and get that first win finally.
It's definitely coming. You've got the pace, but you just need to hook it all up.
Yeah, thank you.
On to second place, Panda. Then Panda, the pendulum swung your way on the second safety car, mate. In the first safety car, it looks like Basil was just pulling away from you, so you just focused on Polishman and company behind. But what was that tactical to get rid of the 5 second? Was that going through your head to get rid of the 5 second penalty and put a brand new set of Inters on the second safety car? Was it always the plan, or did you do it to put a brand new set of
Uh,
Inters?
it was the plan to get rid of the 5 second because I knew that would affect me later on in the race. But I knew because the tyre wear was the buzzer and that would have been on about 25-30%, and the difference between the fresh set of inters and old inters is like 2.5 seconds a lap, like something massive. So being on the fresh tyres was the way to go.
And also, during that last safety car, I bet did you stay out there because you didn't? What was going through your head at that point in time?
Well, when it first stopped raining, before the safety car came out, it didn't dry up at all. It wasn't drying up at all. So I thought, it won't dry up that quickly, surely not, on the safety car, so I stayed out. But thankfully I didn't lose too many positions.
Yeah, what was going through your head on the last lap? We seen Softwood is right behind you. I bet you were on the edge, were you? I bet you were very nervous knowing that a win was on today, but unfortunately, it's just on the case you're gonna be the right tyres at the right time. You were, but it's just not many interrunners behind you to defend those softwooders either.
Yeah, that is true, yeah. But well done. I've noticed as well, it's the same three on the podium last time I was on the podium.
Yeah, I think it was the first race of the season you were on the podium. You won actually, didn't
Yeah,
you?
and it's the same three in the podium positions. Same three
So
people.
it is. How about that?
All three of you
So
back at the podium again, but over to you, Kaylin.
Yeah.
yeah, so Panda, nice to speak to you, of course. It's hard to not be biased since we're both in the same constructors championship with Haas, but yeah, so nice for you to get back on the podium, mate. But unlucky not to get that win. But yeah, so obviously Haas now back into P1 for the constructors. You're definitely pulling your weight in this series. How are you feeling?
Well, the last few rounds haven't been great, so it's nice to have a bit more consistency back again, a bit more confidence back in the car, because this track isn't normally one of my strong tracks, so I guess that's positive.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's been a tricky start, but it's nice to see you back on the podium. I was on board quite a few times, and I noticed that your straight line speed was very, very good. Using low wings today?
No, quite high actually. I was 38,
Really?
35.
Was
So
it?
even I
Okay.
was quite higher than a lot of people.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, it seems to be relatively average from what I'm seeing at the moment. But yeah,
Okay.
how did you feel in the traction zones, mate? Are you on pad? Are you on wheel?
I'm on pad with no TC as well.
Yeah.
So I understand Sofian's pain, but I didn't find any traction issues really, to be honest. The car was quite smooth and quite comfortable.
Yeah, it did seem to come into place for you today. When we saw you obviously boxing for that extra set of intermediate tyres, your tyres were so much fresher, you had so much more grip than the rest of the field. You really carving your way through. That must have felt good.
It felt good, yeah. It's going into some corners, you'd like gain so much on the driver ahead because their tyres are just dead, pretty much. It was a bit hard at times, but to get through, but managed it in the end.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, congratulations on your podium, mate.
Thank you very much.
It's nice to see you back on the podium after 2 races away, Qatar and Suzuka as well. I remember what happened in those 2 races. We'll not talk about it, but yeah, it's nice to see you back there. And you were very close to a win as well. That was tentative on the final corner. I had no idea what actually was the best strategy when it was softs or wet inters, because it looks a bit still wet out there, but the dries could manage it. And yeah, it's lucky there, but still P2's got a great result, so hopefully he can come back stronger next race.
Yeah, indeed.
And Bazza, mate, it looked like the pendulum swung towards Panda's way. What was your reaction when he took the lead of the Grand Prix away from you after all that hard work in the first opening stint?
Absolutely fuming, however. Oh man, like the decision was definitely to go for fresh inters, but then lose 6 strikes position. But I thought, if I stay out, a few will stay out, I'll have a nice buffer. And I did have a nice buffer, but as Panda said, they're just so much quicker per lap. Oh, it just killed me, man.
But what was your reaction when Panda stayed out there? Everybody went to, well, you went into box. There was a few interrunners out there. So what was going through your head in the last safety car, because there's only one more lap to go?
Well, it wasn't very smart, but Palmer said he wasn't racing next week, so I thought, and I really wanted to win, so I thought, YOLO. Just go for it. I can try and if I pull it off and get it right, I'm gonna win. So I took the risk. I was gonna be P3 or lower, but if I pulled it off, I could have been. Well, I was the winner.
You pulled a big gap over the guys behind as well. Were you comfortable in the rain as well?
Yeah, just like so. I think after 3 laps, I was like 3 seconds clear. There was so much battling going off early on the dries. I mean, I was definitely the quickest on dry. There was one corner, I call it Pringle corner. You know, after the sweeping right hand towards the end of sector 2, and then you go like left.
Oh yeah.
I was making, they were in like a 4-car train, and each time I was making like 5 temps through that corner. It was crazy. Just because I assume the guy, I think Polishman was second, and he was on hards. So he was holding up everyone. I was getting so much time through there.
What was your reaction when the rain came? Because did he come earlier than expected? Because we saw a few people at the softs, and you were on the mediums, I think. So that was the right strategy call? Would you go on the mediums as well? But did you expect it to come later on in the race?
So like the pre-race screen, the rain was the first thing there. The first 4 were rain, so I knew it would come in. And then on the formation lap, I'm asking, he's saying 5 minutes, thinking I've dropped a clanger, but it's the thing with approximate, innit? You just 5 minutes could be 10 minutes, or it can be next lap. So I just had to hope it was going to be the 10 lap one, and I think thankfully it didn't come. It came probably. I think the sauce had dropped off by the time it had come.
Were you a bit surprised how long it took for the track to dry up? Because it stopped raining about lap 21, then it took about 4 or 5 laps to dry in.
Right. So the main reason I stayed out when Panda hit, before going in, there was 10. Well, he's saying there's 10 minutes of rain. Right. So the first safety car we'd had, it was about 2 minutes 30 a lap. So that was going to be about, if he stayed out 3 laps, which he did the first time, that was going to be 7.5 minutes. Which obviously, if it's going to be about 10, I should have been fine. Next thing you know, track's wet for another 20 laps or whatever it were. It just would not dry up.
That was quite
That's
confusing.
true, actually. We were watching that as well, thinking that we were seeing a lot of drivers pitting for dry tyres, but of course it being the wrong strategy call since the track was so wet. But obviously it wasn't drying up, and then once the safety car came out, the track dried almost instantly. How did you find that? Did you expect the track to dry so dramatically as that final safety car came out?
well, lap 24. I can't remember what corner it were. It weren't Pringle corner. It were. I went too deep anyway, and then I looked at my tyre temps, and they were overheating. So I knew we were getting dry. And then I think I'd actually just said to Josh, shout out to Josh and his knee brace, that if there was a safety car now, bolt on the softs, and it'd be a dream. And then I think 2 corners later, Leon's binned it. We've got a safety car.
No brainer then.
Absolute no-brainer.
Useful information to take into Thursday night, and I think I like Pringle Corner. I think I'll be using that as well.
If you think about it, just like curves like a Pringle.
I'll say that tier 1 then on Thursday.
Yeah.
I want a shout out now.
I'll shout out. Don't worry. I'll try and remember who it was first because I don't have a great memory really.
Oh, you can't forget Pringle Corner.
Anyways, that's going to be rounded off then for the Chinese Grand Prix. Congrats to the top 3, Sophia, Bazza and Panda. And Bazza wins for the first time this season then.
Way.
And we'll round it off there. Thank you, Kaelin, for commentating me once again, mate.
Thank you, Jamie. Pleasure as always. Another great race here in CRL Tier 4.
Another one to tick off the boxes then with a great race unexpectedly around here in China. But the weather always spices things up as always on any track. Join us back for Tier 1 on Thursday at 8:30 and for Tier 4 at 7:30 for the Canadian Grand Prix then as we move away into the Americas, and we'll see you all later next time out.